in today's video we're going to go over how to prepare your fabric and trace your design ready to start embroidering it. So the first thing is just to make sure your hands are clean. This is just to make sure that you've got no oils or dirt on your hand that's going to then transfer to your fabric and leave really dirty marks behind. So I've chosen to go with the serotonin pattern, which also seems to be the most popular one that other people have chosen as well. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to trace this onto my fabric. So the fabric that I have chosen to use is this unbleached calico cotton, and this is just kind of the fabric I prefer to use, or just a white standard cotton. So what you're going to do is you want to take your embroidery hoop. So your embroidery hoop looks like this, and you have this metal clasp at the top. In order to use your embroidery hoop, you're going to loosen the metal clasp so that your two parts come apart. So you've got the bottom part of your hoop and the top part of your hoop. What you're then going to do is place your fabric onto the bottom hoop, leaving enough around the edge for later. So you're going to place it on like this. You're then going to put the top hoop over the top and sandwich the fabric in. And you want to just tighten the hoop nice and tight. And you want to take a pair of scissors and you're going to cut, leaving about an inch all the way around. Okay, once you have your fabric in your hoop like this, you want to make sure this clasp is as tight as you can possibly get it. You're then going to pull the fabric really taut around all the edges. You want this fabric to be as tight as possible. This is going to make it easier to trace your design and also to embroider it later on. Okay, so now that we have our fabric pulled nice and tightly in our hoop, we can then go on to tracing it. So I've got my design here in on my iPad. If you don't have an iPad, you could use a computer screen, or you could use a light box if you have one, or if not, you could simply tape your design, your printed design, onto a brightly lit window and then place your fabric over the top. So you could either sort of secure your hoop, the fabric on the outside, to the window, or you could leave it out of the hoop and just secure your fabric nice and tightly to the window so it's as smooth as possible against the design behind it. Okay, so when I'm transferring this from my iPad, I'm going to make sure that the brightness is as high as possible on my iPad. And I find it often easier to turn off the light so that I can see it better from behind. Okay, so when I have this, I place my fabric over my design and I just zoom until it fits nicely. The other thing you can do to make it easier to see is you can invert your design. So you can make it so that the design is white on a black background. If you would like this inverted copy to send to you, just drop me an email and I'll be more than happy to send you the inverted copy. Invert them and change our background colour to black. This now makes it much easier to see our design through the fabric. When our design is ready, if you triple click the home button, that starts guided access. That means that the design won't move now when you touch it. The screen doesn't work, okay? So, as long as your fabric is nice and tight, you can place your hoop over the design and start tracing. For this, my favourite tool to use is a Pilot Friction ballpoint pen, and that's because this is heat erasable. So at the end, you can use a hairdryer or an iron to remove any lines that are remaining behind. You can also use a pencil for this, that will work just fine, just make sure it's nice and sharp. Okay, so you're just going to start tracing your design. Okay, so once you think you've traced all of your design, you should then have your fabric looking like this. I should have also noted that before you put your fabric in a hoop, if your fabric is really creased, it might be worth ironing it before you put it in a hoop, just to make sure that the surface is really smooth. Mine didn't need ironing because it's been folded. So now that we have our design, we need to just turn the fabric round so that it's on top of the hoop. It's best to do this now before starting to stitch it and turn it at the end, just because if you try and turn it at the end and then you pull it taut, you might just distort some of the lines from your embroidery. So to do that, you're just going to undo your hoop, take the fabric out, turn it round, place it in the hoop, in the bottom hoop, and you want to place your top hoop on as close as you can get it to being exact, so you kind of want the clasp at the top to be in the centre. This sometimes takes a little bit of going around it until you get it right. Okay, once you think it's okay, again tighten the hoop up as tight as you can get it. And pull the fabric taut. Another thing you can do at this stage, if you're using a white cotton fabric or something that's quite thin, you can also, once you've traced your design, you can place another piece of fabric, so you can essentially double it up and put the 2 layers in the hoop. That will just help to cover up any thread lines behind when you've finished your embroidery. So just make sure this is really tight and tighten that clasp as tight as you can get it. Okay, and now you have your design all ready to start embroidering.